Hey, what's up, world? It's your boy International P. Today we talking about the cheapest, quickest way to get into real estate. So let's jump right into it.
Big motion.
So look, before we even get into it, man, like, subscribe, show your boys some love on the channel. So when we talk about the quickest and the cheapest way, notice I didn't say easy. We talking about the quickest, cheapest way. Don't get it twisted thinking it's gonna be a get rich quick scheme or just you know what I'm saying? We talking about the quickest, cheapest way to do it. That don't mean it's super fast, but that just mean out of all the options, this probably gonna be your quickest option. And then out of all the options as far as what it takes, the initial investment, this is gonna be your cheapest route to get into real estate. Let's go. So look, man, out of everything I could think of concerning real estate, whether we talking about flipping, sub to owner finance, whatever I could think of, the auction route, tax liens, all that, I think the cheapest way and the quickest way into real estate is always going to be wholesaling. Wholesaling is the quickest, cheapest route into the real estate game. So wholesaling in a nutshell is you finding a lead or finding a property, getting in contact with the property owner, getting that property under contract, and then assigning that contract to an end buyer, which would be, let's say, me, like a flipper or just someone looking to buy houses. You assigning your rights and your interest in that property to an end buyer, and then we just supervising that whole process to the closing table and making sure everything closes on time. In a nutshell, that's what wholesaling is. So let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's start with step one. So step one, we talking about finding leads. So the cheapest and the quickest way to find a lead, if you ask me, is going to be driving for dollars. So driving for dollars is basically you getting in your car, putting some gas in your car, and you driving through the neighborhood. What we looking for when we driving through these neighborhoods is we're looking for distressed properties. A distressed property is just a property that's obviously under some type of stress. So whether that's overgrown grass, windows might be busted out, windows could be boarded up, you have a bad roof, a roof could have a hole in it. These are the type of properties we're looking for. And what we're doing is we're looking for the properties in these in decent to good neighborhoods. That way we can be able to get in contact with the owner and see if they're willing to sell that property. So step one is always going to be finding your leads, finding your properties, trying to get in contact with the owners to see if you can negotiate a deal to purchase these properties. My quickest route to finding leads, and let's say, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the quickest way to find leads, but I would say it's one of the more cheaper ways. And that's going to always be driving for dollars. Just jumping in your car, driving through the neighborhood, looking for these properties. Now, just understand there's other ways to get this done. As with every step I tell you, as we go through this whole process, it's plenty of ways to get any of these different steps done. But just understand, I'm talking about the cheapest ways to get them done and the fastest way. The reason I say driving for dollars is the cheapest and the fastest because all it takes is you jumping in your car and you just driving neighborhood looking for these houses. Now, we could go a route where we're just looking for certain lists. Let's say we're looking for a pre-foreclosure list online or through a software, and that could be a way to find these leads as well. But you got to think about it from a standpoint of being a new wholesaler. When you're new in the game, you always want to see the property with your own eyes. So even if you do look them up on that software or online, you're still going to want to go drive by and see the property. So we cutting that step out of finding them first. What we're going to do is we're going to find them and we're going to see them at the same time. So that's why I say driving for dollars is going to be your cheapest way to step number one, which is finding your leads. We already found our property. We found a lead that we're interested in. Now, step number two is just gathering more information about that property. So the way we're going to gather more information about that property is we're going to go online. We're just going to pull up Zillow on one window, and then we're going to pull up Redfin on another one. The reason I pull up both of these because number one, they're cheap. And number two, they're going to give you information about the property. Now, I prefer Redfin over Zillow. Zillow is what most people are used to, but I prefer Redfin because typically Redfin is going to have more photos on the property, and as well as it's going to give us the information that we need the way we need it. So the information that we're going to be looking for is just information on the home, but more importantly, we're looking for the parcel ID. So Zillow and Redfin will have a parcel ID, but I found that only Redfin have the parcel ID in the formation or the format that you need it in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Zillow, we're going to go to Redfin, we're going to look up the property, but more importantly, we're going to go to Redfin and we're going to copy the format of the parcel number and the parcel information as it is. And then when we get to step three, I'll tell you why we're doing that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you guys how to pull up just the basic information on the home and also get that parcel ID number. So we just going to use what's cheap and what's convenient, and that's Zillow and Redfin. So I already have an address, just a random address I'm going to put in just so we'll be able to pull up that information. So obviously this is Zillow. I'm sure everyone have been on Zillow at some point, but you can see here you got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,20 square feet. That's the basic information. As we continue to scroll, let's say we go to the home details. It'll give you a basic rundown on the home, but we see here built in 1999, single family home, lot size. Tell you the basic information, heat pump, lets you know what the exterior of it is, which, like I said, we pretty much know some of this information because we already drove by, but it's just providing the basic information of the home. Mainly what we're looking for is this parcel ID number. Now, you see, like I said in the video, when we're talking about Zillow, they'll give you the parcel ID number, but they won't give it to you in the correct format. But when you're looking it up on the Clerk of Court's website, you need the correct format. So if we do the same thing, we come over to Redfin, we'll pull that same address up, which is already there. Pull the same property up. Like I say, same basic information. But now as we go up here, we click property details. And you see, I just prefer, a lot of times I prefer the Redfin layout. You see, they got foundation type slab, just the regular information that you would need. But what we're looking for now is that parcel ID number. So we coming out here, we looking for legal book number. This is just, this information that's is showing here is like the book information. This is like when they say the legal description of the property, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the legal description. So this is all part of the legal description of the property. But as we scroll down here, we see here the APN. The APN is your parcel ID number. And you see here as well, they got the correct format for the number. So I realize what you a lot of people may try to like just copy and paste. It's not going to work that way. You will have to keep this page open. And then when we go over to the Clerk of Court's website, we're going to have to type this information in to get it to pull up. So now we at step 3. We found the property and we found some information on the property. And more importantly, we found that parcel ID number. Now what we're going to do here at step 3 is we're going to take that parcel ID number. We're going to go to our Clerk of County website. So any city you're in, any county you're in, you just want to jump on Google and type in whatever county you in, Clerk of Courts, and it's going to bring up the Clerk of Courts website. So the reason we're coming here is we're going to go to do an official record search. And when we do that official record search, we just pulling up the official records of the property. So what we do is, because we don't know the name of the owner of the property yet, we're just going to use that parcel ID number to pull up everything that has anything to do with that property based on the parcel ID number. So I'll walk you guys through that step. So here we are. Right now, we're going to look up the owner information in the county clerk of courts. We want to just pull up the official documents. So we'll go up here and just type in whatever county you in, Marion County. And you can see for me, it's already coming up, but Marion County clerk of courts, we'll just hit there. Very first link you see, you just want to hit it. So this is how my county clerk of courts look. But the main thing is you just want to go to here. You want to go to official record search. So here it says search official records. On yours, it may say official record search, whatever the case, that's where we want to be. And see here, let's say we had the party name, we'll just be able to put their name in and still look up these same documents. But at this point, we're doing it the cheaper route. So we don't have their name yet. So what we do have off of Redfin is we have that parcel ID number. So we'll just go back and forth. What we got? 9025. Dash 0660 dash 09. And we just hit search. So now it's going to bring up all the official records concerning this property or concerning that parcel, right? So a big thing to understand here is if you're not used to seeing here, what you got here is the legal description, right? Then we just have page number and book number. Every property have a book, page, and legal description number. But main thing what we're looking for is, number one, for this situation, we're looking for these deeds. The deed means deeds. So that's a deed. That's going to be, anytime you see deed, that's a deed. So that's what we're looking for. If you see like a NOC, that's a notice of commencement. That just means typically some, let's say if you get a new roof on your home, before they can start that roof, they have to do a notice of commencement, just as a notification that something is commenced. That's for the city. So what we're looking for is the deed, and also here's the date. We're just going to look for the newest deed, right? And so it looks like on this particular property, the newest deed is going to be 2001. Okay, so here let's check this out, right? We got a Tanya Rector, and then we also, and so just from seeing, we have a Tanya Rector here, and then if we move up to here, we got deed as well. We have a Nicholas Rector. So even without looking, I could pretty much tell you that these are going to probably be your two property owners. But just to show you guys kind of what you're looking at here, we're looking at a warranty deed. And I'm not going to break down the whole how do you read these things, but the main thing you need to look for is these names here. That's a husband and wife. Like I said, you have Nicholas Rector and Tanya Rector. And then you see here whose post office address is same address as the property, right? So that's that. When we come to these, when we come to the current county clerk website, this is the information we're looking for. We're trying to find that owner. This particular property, we're going to go with the fact that the owners here should be Nicholas M. Rector and Tanya M. Rector. So next, I'll show you guys how to look this information up on True People Search. So now that we were able to go on the Clerk of Court's website and find out some more information on the property, and typically we're going to see the various owners of that property and find out who we believe to be the owner at the current time. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find some information, some contact information on that owner. So like I say, we're talking about cheaper and we're talking about fast. This may not necessarily be the fastest way to get this done. If we was doing this in bulk, which the more you get into the game, you'll realize when we're talking about bulk, we're just talking about a quantity. But as far as starting out in the wholesale game, this is a fast, cheap way to get started. And when I say cheap, it's totally free. Every method I'm showing you is totally free. So now we're going to jump into TruePeopleSearch.com. We're going to jump over to TruePeopleSearch.com and we're going to put in this address and we're going to try to match the address with the name of the owner that we already found in our Clerk of Courts County website. So we're here now and we're going to look up, try to look up the owner information in True People Search. So at the top, just type in True People Search. See, mine comes up automatically, obviously, because I've used it before. But let's say we just go here, right? True People Search. Once again, very first link you see is typically going to be the link you want, which is the correct True People Search website. Now, the correct website is www.truepeoplesearch.com. I had instances where I told like some buddies of mine about True People Search and they just get the wrong website. You see they got truepeoplesearch.net, all this other stuff. You don't want that. Just click on this first link. And you see here we have name, phone, address. What we want to do is type in the name and the city and the state. And so who do we have? Let's go with Tanya. It's shorter. So we'll go with Tanya Rector. Okay, so under Tanya Rector, because that name is, that last name, you don't get too many of those. It's only one. A lot of times you'll have a ton of different names, but let's just click on here and see what we pull up here. So as you can see, you see the address. So one thing when you're looking up names and trying to match in the addresses, you want to make sure that the address is somewhere in the file. So here we got Tanya Rector. You see that the address is here in this file. That's the address that we just looked up. So without a shadow of a doubt, that's the current address. We know that this is a match. But let's say if they had a new address here, we'll just keep scrolling down till we see all of the previous addresses. Now, if our address is somewhere within the previous address, then we still would have a confirmed match. It doesn't always have to be at the top. Sometimes it's going to be down here in this previous address section. But either way, we found the address, we confirmed the name, and now here go your numbers. Now, a lot of times, you may go through all these numbers and none of them work, but this is going to be your cheapest, most convenient option as far as looking up the information and finding the contact information on these individuals. So that's what you want to do. You just want to come to True People Search, type in the name, city, and state. Hit enter, and you just want to kind of match the name with the address. So you may get a lot of the same names, but once we go to these addresses, if you don't see the address here at the top in the current addresses, or if you don't see the address that we're looking for in the previous addresses, then that's not going to be your person. When it's the right person, the address is going to either be in the previous address box or in the current address box. So now that we found the owner information for the property, now the only next thing to do is the call, right? And so this is one of the biggest steps, because I don't care how much driving for dollars you do. I don't care how big your list of leads get. If you're not willing to put in the work of actually making contact with these owners, you just never is going to get deals. I don't give a damn how many houses you find and how distressed the properties are. You need to be able to build up that tough skin of getting on the phone call with these people and making these phone calls. So that's major. This is one of the major steps of the game, right? So now that we have that contact information, all we're going to do is jump on the phone, give them a call. Now we talking about the cheapest way to do this. The cheapest way to do this is just pick up your damn phone and call. But let's say if you don't want to call off your main line, you like, P, I don't want to call on my main line. I want to keep my business separate from my personal. That's totally fine. The cheapest route to have that extra telephone number is just Google Voice. So just jump on, download Google Voice, and just set up your account or whatnot. And then you'll have a new Google Voice telephone number, and you make all your calls through your Google Voice software. Or you could text. Phone calls are always a lot more serious because you're able to kind of gauge the emotions and kind of gauge the temperature of what's going on with the conversation versus text message. You really just going back and forth. You don't know what's going on. So it is an option to do both. I prefer if you starting out and you new to the game, just get on the phone and make them tough phone calls, try to get contact with these owners and try to, negotiate a deal. So now we at step 6. What we did is we just got off the phone with a seller, or let's say a group of sellers, and we was able to negotiate ourselves some deals. Now it's time for us to get the contract and get these contracts signed, everything in print. That way we can move to the next step. So this step 6, is getting your contract signed. A couple of things about this step is, number one, when you dealing with these sellers, a lot of the times you don't want to come to them with the long form residential purchase agreement. So a big thing is just trying to find a shorter form purchase agreement that still covers everything that needs to be covered for it to be a legally binding contract. What I would say is you guys can Google those contracts and find them very easily online. Or if you're having issues finding them, just hit me up at heyp@bigsteverspodcast.com. I can send you guys over a couple of my purchase agreements. I have a lot of purchase agreements that's 2 pages, 3 pages, but we're definitely trying to stay away from those longer contracts. Now, that's just my opinion. I don't think that a lot of these people, when we're dealing with these face-to-face connections, or when we're dealing with actually emailing these people these contracts, a lot of these people don't want to go through those longer contracts that you would do when you're with an agent. Right now, we're dealing one-on-one with these individuals. So when there's no agent involved, a lot of people like to see these things that's visually clear. We don't need all those extra pages in the paperwork. All we need is what's extremely important as far as explaining the deal, packaging the deal the right way, and just making sure that deal is clear and concise. That way we don't have any issue enforcing the deal further down the line. So we just want us a contract agreement that's easily readable, enforces everything that we need enforced, and more than anything, it just explains exactly what's going on with the purchase of the property. That way we don't have any issues down the road. Now, it's 2 things. If you're local, which if you're starting out wholesaling, you're probably going to want to go local. That way you can get your feet wet before you dive into trying to wholesale across the whole U.S. So if you're local, all you're going to do is you're going to print that contract out, get it signed on your end, fill out the important information that needs to be filled out. Then I would suggest you go meet this person, preferably at the property with the contract. That way you can get the contract signed and you can take a walkthrough of the property and get you some pictures of the property. That way you have a better understanding of what's going on with the property. And then let's say that they are not local. The easiest thing to do if they're not local is just to have yourself a software like, let's say, DocuSign. You upload your contract into DocuSign, fill it out the same way, fill it out on your end, and you email it to them for them to fill out. Once they fill it out, you have a legally binding contract just like that. So it's really not anything hard to the step. Mainly is you want to make sure you have the right type of residential contract for whichever state you in. So now we have a contract signed. Now we getting closer to payday, baby. Now we happy. The juice is flowing. We in our motion, right? now the clock really starts ticking because now we have a certain period until its closing date and we got to find ourselves an end buyer. So this is step number 7, which is finding an end buyer. The easiest way to find an end buyer is let's say the easiest and the cheapest way to find an end buyer is, I would say number 1 is join your local REIA group. That's a Real Estate Investors Association group. Within that group, make sure you're going to all the meetings, make sure you're rubbing shoulders, because what that's going to do is that's going to put you in contact with a lot of investors. And I can guarantee you, if you have a deal and your deal is structured properly, you're not going to have any issue getting one of your investors in your group to purchase that deal. So that's number 1. Join your local REIA group, Real Estate Investors Association group. Whatever county you in or whatever city you in, just type city, Real Estate Investors Association or REIA, and it's going to pull up the clubs in that city. That'll be one of your cheapest, quickest routes into finding an end buyer. Number 2, I would say just jump on Facebook. You have wholesaler groups, real estate groups. Join every one of those groups that you can. And when you get these deals, just make sure that you're posting them. Like, hey, I got a 1,500 square foot home, blah, 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 right? I'm posting it for this price. This is the purchase price. This is the ARV. Contact me if you need some more information on this deal. Now, I'm well aware that I haven't discussed what the ARV is or any of this stuff, but I'm just trying to give you guys a broad overview. That's a second route of just jumping on Facebook, joining those groups and posting your potential deals in these groups to get buyers. The third way would be just send it to somebody like me. Like, I'm a flipper, I'm a wholesaler. If you guys have a deal that you think is an interesting deal that I would like, just send it to me at heyp@bigstepperspodcast.com. I'll take a look at it. If I'm not going to purchase the deal, I can guarantee you that I know a potential investor that can definitely get your deal purchased. So when most people think about wholesaling, they get to the stage of, oh man, I'm not going to be able to find a buyer. I can guarantee you finding a buyer is a lot easier than you think it is. It's just a matter of putting that work in. That's just 3 ways of finding buyers. It's a whole list of other ways that I can show you guys, but for now, for this video, just so we don't run out of time and it don't go crazy over time, I'm gonna stick with those 3. So now we have an end buyer. So we're in great shape right now. Now we have a purchase agreement with the seller, and now we have an end buyer, right? So now this step number 8 is we have to get an assignment contract for our end buyer and get that assignment contract signed. So same thing as with the purchase agreement. I have several assignment agreements. If you guys need an assignment agreement, just hit me up at heyp@bigstepperspodcast.com. I can send that over to you. But mainly what your assignment contract is you're assigning your rights and your interest to the property over to this end buyer. So you basically playing the middleman. You have your seller, you have yourself, and you have the end buyer. So the end buyer is going to be the third person, right? They're going to be the person that's taking over that contract. So you're assigning your rights and your interest of that property and of that contract to the end buyer. So that's step number 8. We already have our end buyer. Now we're going through the process of making sure we have this assignment completed correctly and we have the assignment signed and ready to go. So now we at step 9. Now we on the home stretch. We have a signed contract from the owner of the property, and we also have an end buyer that's going to purchase that property. We have a signed assignment from them. So now all we have to do is supervise the rest of the process. And what I mean by supervise the process is we got to keep all parties happy till we get to the closing table and till we're actually closed on this property. So right now, all we're doing is we're making sure our end buyer is getting all the documents to title. That way title could do their job and we'll be able to close on time. And all we're doing is making sure the owner follows the process and communicate any issues that they may be having. We want to make sure we have access to the home if need be. That way we can do our inspection, and we just want to make sure the whole process goes smooth. So that's what we do in step number 9, is just make sure the whole process goes smooth. And we basically supervising at this point, because now we have the seller and now we have our end buyer. We just want everything to go smooth. So step 10 is now we just cash out, baby. We've been to the closing table. The seller got their money. The end buyer got the property, and we got our assignment fee. So now we happy. All we do at this point is we take our earnings, we take our profit, we flex on Facebook a little bit, and then we get right back to it. We get right back to the grind, and we start it over again. So step number 10 is just cashing out, man. You've done the job, you put the work in. Now it's time to be rewarded, and all we doing at this point is repeating the process, right? We rinse and repeat. So that's what we doing, rinsing and repeat. Great job, you did the job. That's that. Now, it's a couple of things I want to tell you guys before we get out of here, man, which is that I understand that I didn't go through every process in depth. So it's a lot of information that's missing, right? Like, for instance, you got some people may thinking, well, how do we fill out the contract? How do we fill out the purchase agreement? How do we fill out the assignment contract? Some people may say, well, how do we know what to offer the seller of the property? How do we get to that maximum allowable offer or that MAO? I understand that a lot of information is missing, but that's on purpose, because what I wanted to do here is just provide you guys with a broad overview of what the wholesaling game is, right? I wanted to give you guys wholesaling in a nutshell. We can get into all those other details, but we're going to have to do it in other videos, because if we laid it all out, this video will be way too long. So what I wanted to do is give you guys an overview of what's going on, and then I'm going to be back with videos and we're going to break down each and every step of the wholesale game. But now that you guys know what it is, now that you can kind of figure out, okay, is this something I may be interested in, or is this something that I'm not interested in? Hey, so before we get out of here, man, it's your boy International P. Like, subscribe, comment. If you like the video, make sure you show love. Jump down in the comments, let me know. If you hated the video, let me know that as well, man. Like I said before, if you guys have any questions, hit me up at heyp@bigstepperspodcast.com and let me know what's up, man. Other than that, I appreciate your time. Go get that money. Bag talk. Big Steppers Podcast, baby.